Welcome to another episode of the Palace Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
All right, this is part 2 of episode 43, the Mike Green episode, but you don't care about that. It's the breakdown of the 2023 NFL Draft. Part 1, we kind of did a very quick overview of all the selections, but really dove deep on just day 1 and day 2. And so now we're going to look at how day 3 panned out, as well as kind of do some special features here. You'll get a Rob's rant, as well as a This Just In.
The Rob's rant will be in a little bit. This one's going to go a little bit faster than the last one. We're going to try to get through this pretty quick. I only have video content for Roschon Johnson and Tyler Scott. But I'll still talk to the other guys as well, as I have notes and where I had those guys ranked prior to the draft. So, let's throw up might as well just get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. So, part 2, looking just at day 3 for analysis, as well as some special features we want to talk big picture. Day 3, to me, they were just drafting their types.
Yes.
And going best player available off their board, as opposed to day 2 when it was best or BDTA, best DT available.
Yeah.
This time they're just best player available. And by the end, there still were some holes, notable holes, but I don't think you're going to fix everything in a draft necessarily.
No, we've always said this isn't going to be the full rebuild, right, in 1 year. We see this as like growth, a step up, maybe like the Lions, getting lucky and kind of pushing to make the playoffs, right? But we have no Super Bowl hopes for 2023. And if you do, that's crazy. But I think 2024 is when, now at that point, if they don't have success at that point, Ryan pulls on the hot seat going into 2025.
I could talk about that later. I don't agree with that necessarily, and I can explain why. But I look at, by the conclusion of this draft, and factor in what you still think they're going to do with either free agents that are current free agents or guys that get cut. I look at the different rooms of, you got your wide receiver room, you got your running back room, you got your defensive line room. All those rooms, compared to what they looked like last year at this time, I think are way better, almost across the board. So they are building through the draft, and they do have a plan, and they're sticking to that plan. And they're not just going to take Luke Whippler because we thought he was the third best center over a guy that they think fits their style or fits their system. And honestly, some of these guys, they're picking for special teams. And, I know we'll go into depth on different people, but I just want to point out something. Noah Sewell, probably a better all-around athlete and things like that than Jack Sanborn. And we don't want to just say because Sanborn found success last year that he deserves a spot. I think if they fill their roster with talent, there should be competition a lot of places that there wasn't competition before, because Sanborn was a bright spot, but there was nothing good about that defense last year.
No.
And when I say different rooms are looking better, some guys like Velus Jones and Ebner, these are draft picks just last year, I don't think should feel too comfortable right now.
Ebner's not making my roster.
He's not making mine either right now, unless he proves something.
Maybe I'll throw him on my practice squad and give him an opportunity to stay there and hope that no one takes him. Or if someone does, I'll just say bye. I'll touch on Velus Jones in a little bit. I don't want to give anything away yet.
But I'm saying last year, if you worked at Foot Locker, you probably had a chance to be on this team. Now you're looking at guys who were drafted just last year who, if they don't make notable improvements and show something, might not even be on the team. So there's competition coming in.
I mean, the wide receiver room alone has gone from Darnell Mooney and Equinemius St. Brown as your top 2. Your third was maybe Dante Pettis.
Right.
Now,
it's Pringle. Look at those guys. They didn't pan out.
N'Keal Harry.
N'Keal Harry.
Now it's DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, and Equinemius St. Brown, who was your 2, is now your 4.
Exactly.
It's a huge upgrade.
Love it. So I guess let's talk a few specifics here, and I wish we could almost go back to. I could at least speak to it here. So let's look day 3. They should have picked number 1 in the 4th round. They traded out of that slot, dropped back 12 positions, I believe, to 115, but also scooped up a pick at 165, which kind of replaces the one they lost for trading up for Tyreek Stevenson. So Roschon Johnson ends up being your first pick of day 3. He was selected at pick 115, and I think a lot of people were surprised he fell as far as he did. And I certainly know that the Bears feel that way. So what do you think about Roschon Johnson?
So I am not a big fan of this pick. I know when we were talking in our text messages about it, he's just not a guy who I envisioned in this offense. He's not a home run hitting running back. He is not someone who's going to run the outside zone very well. He doesn't have the burst to get there. To me, he is David Montgomery-esque in certain ways. He's slightly faster, has a slightly better burst. His 10-yard split was a 1.52. David Montgomery's was 1.58, I believe, off the top of my head. His 40-yard dash is a 4.58. David Montgomery's was a 4.63. So, I mean, they're very similar, with a little bit better, obviously.
So you're basically saying they're bringing in a younger, less beat-up version of a guy that they had when they had the number 1 rushing attack in the NFL.
No, he only had 93 carries last year and still gained 554 yards.
Wow.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and throw up his video because I want to speak to a few things here. I don't want people to think that I hate the pick. I don't. It was shocking to me. And one of the reasons it was shocking to me before I throw up the video is Israel Abanikanda, okay, Izzy, as he's also known from Pittsburgh, a guy I wasn't even high on right away. And someone in our comments was like, Rob, you got to look more into this guy. He's a lot faster than you're thinking. I got his numbers mixed up when I was inputting it into my spreadsheet. I thought he was running a 4.5. He was actually running close to a 4.3. I shouldn't say that. He did run a 4.3, a 4.32. That's a home run hitting guy. That's a guy who I thought, you get to the outside, you make a move, boom, you're gone. Chase Brown was another home run hitting guy. A lot of mileage on that guy, though, right? So I just was a little surprised. But now I'm wondering if with Darnell Wright, with Roschon Johnson, are they going to run more of a little bit of a balanced attack versus just strictly trying to run that outside zone all the time?
That's a great point. And they also really liked how he pass protects, which is not a strength of Khalil Herbert.
So the pass protection is huge. As of today, I'm going to say this right now. As of today, he's the best pass blocking running back on this roster. And that scares me a little bit, though, because usually rookie running backs struggle in that regard, right? So I think they also are looking at how do we protect Justin Fields, continuing with the Darnell Wright thing. And he could be your third down running back. He can't. And
they even went as far to say he's a former quarterback, which I don't know if they plan to use him in a gadgety way here and there for a trick play, or if that speaks to being able to see the field, intellect, understand what they're trying to run, things like that.
All right, so this is a video presented by Curtain Call. Okay, so you guys can check out this whole. This is actually a really long video. It has every single run of his in 2022, which I think is better than just looking at the highlights. There's 3-minute highlight videos where you see him breaking tackles and running for 20, 35, 40 yards. That didn't happen very often. I shouldn't say very often. It didn't happen all the time, right?
But he'll get the hard yards.
That's the difference here also between him and David Montgomery. Roschon Johnson is a power back, okay? He is a power back who can catch the ball out of the backfield well enough, okay? Again, boom. What he does that David Montgomery doesn't do, he sees his hole and he hits it. A lot of times David Montgomery was caught doing a little bit of dancing, sidestepping. But he's going to take those hits, and he's not going to go down. Where I always referred to David Montgomery as like a Maurice Jones-Drew, but bigger. Like he'd bounce like almost like a pinball off of you.
Fall forward.
Roschon Johnson's going through you, okay? He just puts you down and boom, goes through you. He can be your third down back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, as you're seeing right here. He does well in screen games. He is, going to give you those tough yards in goal line situations or third and shorts, right? He's more of an upright runner than David Montgomery. I wouldn't say upright in the sense of like King Henry, right?
Oh, yeah.
Derrick Henry. Like that guy, he looks like he's running straight up and down when I watch him run. And he looks so slow.
He's doing it just
but
fine.
He's so fast. It just looks weird and awkward on TV at times. It's funny. But yeah, so
I don't know if you have any stories or anecdotes to support this, but I also hear good character guy, leadership qualities, things along those lines. So
yes,
don't know where that comes from or how the Bears kind of came to that, but that's certainly something I know teams are going to want to look for.
Yeah, I know Ryan Poles was the one that threw that out there. And I know a lot of other people who have spoken about him have also said that. So that's definitely, David Montgomery was a great leader and locker room guy. So Roschon Johnson should fit in. My issue that I'm seeing is a lot of people are like, he's going to be the number one running back. And they're not everyone's saying this year. Some people are saying next year. I don't see it if they're going to continue to run the scheme. I see him as your third down back. I see him as a fill-in as a starter, 1 through 3, 1 through third down, if they're, missing guys. But I think it's going to be Donta Foreman, and then Roschon is your third down back, and then Khalil Herbert's going to have his sub packages just like he did with David Montgomery.
Well, I think when we talked about should they and will they keep Montgomery, one of the things we kept coming back to is the unfortunate nature of the position where, it's not valued as highly as it once was. And so I don't think the Bears care if they have a number one back or if they get production out of 3 guys.
Right.
And I think the NFL is headed in that direction. And so to get a guy who has these types of abilities and maybe even some intangibles, when you start to talk about things like leadership, I do like the pick overall.
All right. So the next pick that they took also in the 4th round, I don't have the number in front of me, but I think it was 133.
That's correct.
All right. Was Tyler Scott out of Cincinnati. Okay. Some people have him listed at 5'10". Some people have him listed at 5'9". I think it was because he was like 5'9 3/4 or something like that.
Give him the 5'10".
Yeah, I give him the 5'10".
That's coming from a short guy.
I have
always
him
give him that extra inch.
I'm not a short guy. I'm like 6'3", but I give him the 5'10". He's 177 pounds, so he's a little bit shorter. He's lean. Very similar build to Darnell Mooney, who's just got a little bit more height on him at 5'11".
He's fast as hell.
Fast as hell. He ran a 4.44. However, Darnell Mooney's faster.
Okay.
Slightly. His 10-yard split was 1.5, so he's got decent acceleration. 39.5-inch vertical.
That'll do, especially if you're a little on the shorter side.
That's right. And his RAS score was 8.61. Again, elite. Every person we've mentioned so far has been elite in that RAS score. Okay. Get the video
as you're getting the video loaded. Another reason I would caution people to just purely look at statistics is they talked about how the quarterback play in Cincinnati wasn't consistent or ideal over some of the last 2 years where you'd be evaluating him. But you got to look at some of the things like the separation he's getting,
yes,
explosion off the line. So I'm sure you're going to speak to that.
Yes. So we mentioned Velus Jones, right? So first of all, we got to throw the joke in there.
I was going to retire that joke, but
Velus Jones is pushing 80. He's getting his walker out. All right. We need a new wide receiver. Tyler Scott is the better version of Velus Jones. A little bit different build, but he's got the running back background similar to like Velus Jones. Okay. Like he could be like maybe Debo-esque.
Oh, wow. Let's not do
in
that.
The system. I know we said it with Velus Jones, right? Everyone was thinking that could happen there too. But I'm saying from like a play standpoint, you could run him on those jet sweeps, which we saw Velus do, right? Tyler Scott can be that guy.
Better hands, right?
way better hands, a better route runner, but still needs to refine it a little bit. Okay. He was my wide receiver 12. So getting him in the 4th round is pretty good value there. Let's see. He has a special teams ability. I didn't know this until after we drafted him, or Chicago Bears drafted him, but he does gunner. Okay. So he could be like your Cordarrelle Patterson was, right?
There you go.
Great gunner. Again, explosive. He has good hands, but he has some concentration drops. So it's like, as long as he's focused, it's good, but he does have some concentration drops. Some people want to say he's a Darnell Mooney replacement, and I wanted to bring that up but I think Mooney's a way more polished route runner.
He's also a 4 or 5 year veteran at this point.
Correct, but even coming into
comparable time.
Yeah, just a better route runner.
Okay.
You're going to see a lot of go routes, right? A lot of stop and goes. You're going to see.
That's fine because that opens up the field for underneath.
That's exactly what you're going to do here. And he's going to have a sub package. He's not going to, take a starting spot away, I don't think, at this point. Maybe he drives Dante Pettis off the field, right?
I'm fine with that.
But
talk about concentration drops.
Correct. So, and you already have Equanimeous St. Brown doing the dirty work.
Yeah.
So do you need him and Pettis doing the dirty work, or can you get away with just one?
We've already named more people than are going to be on the roster. So somebody's getting cut, I think, over a guy like this who has a lot of promise and potential.
So boom. The yards after catch, look at the speed all the way. Oh, yeah, they're not even going to come close to catching him on this play. I don't know if the video is on here. I know Adam Hogue has spoken to it a lot. There's a play against Indiana University where he completely – I say he's not a good route runner. He completely fools the corner. The corner's looking the opposite way, and he's just down the field scoring a touchdown. Like, you're going to see a lot of just open throws deep down the field. Something Justin Fields loves to do, something Justin Fields is good at doing. His deep ball accuracy is fantastic.
Absolutely. So I don't have the big board in front of me to know like who went at this pick that they could have gotten. You said you're going to write an article about that.
Yes.
But I just want to point out something you said. Could this be a Mooney replacement? Let's remember, it's very been talked about many times. Mooney's in the last year of a deal, hasn't got an extension. Claypool's, we can talk about how he was acquired and all that, but his contract ends this year too. So as nice as that room sounds now, with 2 question marks that you don't know if you want to re-sign or will be able to re-sign, this might just be a little insurance. And maybe at the spot they're picking, they're looking at his skill set and decide that's someone we're going to take over a potential defensive end when they're fine still addressing that another way. So it's little things like that we can't possibly know the complexity of what they're looking at.
Right. Now, and I don't know this to be true, so someone can fact check me. I think his catch, like yards per catch, is like 45.
What does that mean?
Like his number
of catches?
His average catch is 45 yards per catch.
That doesn't sound right. What does that even mean, though?
I saw that somewhere.
But what that would mean is, like you said, he's only catching fly routes, or he's taking it to the house on every play, and then not catching anything else, or not being targeted very much.
Let's see if I can figure it out.
That doesn't sound right.
As we're doing this.
Think about that. If he had 10 catches, he'd have 450 yards.
But I want to say that I saw that somewhere.
All right, but if he had 20 catches, he'd have 900 yards in the season.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. He might have only had 20 catches. I don't know.
Okay, well, I mean,
we're going to look it up right now.
It's good production. So the other players drafted day 2. We're not going to go, day 3, I should say.
Yeah.
We're not going to go as in depth on, but I did already mention how Noah Sewell out of Oregon.
I was 16.6.
Okay, 45.
I said I saw it on Twitter. So
well, oh my god,
if it's on Twitter, it's true.
I don't. Never mind. So Noah Sewell, a linebacker out of Oregon.
Yes.
At one point, they said, I think he's one of these players where he could have come out last year.
Well, he couldn't have come out last year because he wasn't eligible.
I see.
Had he come out last year, and I'll let you continue where you're going.
Well, no. I mean, maybe day 1, day 2 type of talent?
Day 2 is what I heard.
Day
yes.
2. And so, you're drafting for upside.
Yep.
He's not, you don't need him to come start.
Nope.
Or anything like that. But if he can learn and come in as a backup, play on special teams, that's what you're looking for. And once again, RAS score, way up there.
Yep, 8.38.
So I think they're just looking to get talent. They've really completely overturned the linebacker room, which there was no room.
No, it's fantastic now.
Our
it was
number one
Roquan
player,
Smith. That was it.
It was Roquan Smith, and then when he's gone, honestly, coming into this offseason before free agency and everything, Sanborn was our top guy.
Yes.
And he's an undrafted free agent.
Yes.
So they've totally remade that unit. So I was excited to see a player like that. Even if he's not going to have that immediate impact you might be looking for.
Yeah, I'll go real quick with my notes. I have him here listed at 6'1", 246. He's got a 4.64 40, 27 bench press reps. For those who don't know, that's 225 pounds per rep. He was my linebacker 7. Athletic inside linebacker who had a better 2021 than 2022, above average size and strength, high motor with some pass rush ability. However, I have seen that some people think he could be converted to a defensive end. I don't see it. I think his hips are too stiff when I watched it. After I heard this, I went back and watched the film again because I was like, maybe it's true. I don't see it. I think he's just too stiff. Doesn't have the ability to bend and get around the corner like an end needs to be.
Well, and I didn't pay too close attention to the size, height, and weight, but he'd have to put on some pounds too, don't you think?
Yeah, 246.
Okay, that's slight. I mean, there are some guys that get away with it, but
yeah, no, that's a good size for a linebacker, but not for an edge, right?
Okay.
Big physical hitter, struggles with missed tackles and angles at times, but should make an immediate impact on special teams.
Next, at 165, a pick that they acquired by dropping down with the first pick in the 4th. They take Terrell Smith, a corner out of Minnesota. Measurables, you'll give us the specifics, but quite honestly, again, fits the mold almost like the Tyreek Stevenson pick.
They're almost identical
before. And here's what I'll say. You put the number at 30%. GMs probably know there's a likelihood you're going to swing and miss, almost like a baseball player.
That's right.
Hitting 300 is good. So sometimes taking 2 swings helps you out.
Well, and I think, too, as you increase your number of picks, right? We're talking 10 picks. I say around 30%. I'm just throwing that number out there. But, in this regard, it could be 40 to 50% because they have more opportunities.
Exactly.
Where we're looking at Ryan Pace with 5-6 guys.
Right.
The chances are just slimmer and slimmer.
You're right. So I don't know if
you want me to
specific.
Run through my stuff?
Run through it real quick.
So, again, 6 foot, 204 pounds, basically the same size physically as Tyreek Stevenson. 4.41 40-yard dash. I almost said sprint. Vertical is 34 inches, so I think it was actually a little bit higher.
Those 40 times were almost
no, it was lower. 38.5 was for Tyreek Stevenson. So he doesn't have as much height with his jump there, but that's okay. 8.67 RAS score, and I believe Stevenson was like an 8.9. I have him. He had a strong Shrine Bowl performance. So again, that's kind of what put him on the map. Very similar traits as we just said. Better suited for man coverage, the same as Stevenson. So he's going to be an outside corner backup, in my opinion. Same with Stevenson, though. He's got some tightness in his hips. He does have better footwork, though, which kind of gives him the ability to keep in position with average route runners. I just think he's going to struggle against the elite route runners. And he was unranked for me. I didn't even have him in my top 10.
Okay, which is going to happen when we're now talking about picks quite late in the draft.
And again, I only got through 150 prospects.
So then the last 2 were both in round 7. We have Travis Bell, another DT, out of a school nobody has ever made it to the NFL, which is Kennesaw State. And I found it kind of interesting that when Ryan Poles spoke specifically about him, which he didn't even need to at that point, I don't think he was going player by player.
No.
He said one of the best humans.
I think he was asked.
He did. Oh, okay.
I think he was asked.
Okay, he was asked directly. One of the best humans. I don't know if he said I've ever met or something
along those lines.
I mean, I was like, whoa, if this guy doesn't make the team, is he going to be in a coach or something? They were really high on him. So who knows why? He was invited in for a what do they call those? Something 30? Top 30 visit.
Yep.
And it must have gone very well.
Apparently, he didn't want to leave.
That's what I was going to say. It must have gone very well. It's a work ethic thing because they talked about how he had a full-time job but still played football and things like that. Maybe just a guy they didn't want to risk trying to get an undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
Because would he have been picked by anyone? I don't know. But they went and got their guy. And then the last safety / you said cornerback possibility, Kendall Williamson out of Stanford with the slightly more relevant Mr. Irrelevant pick.
Yeah, I'll touch on Kendall Williamson first, and I'm going to go back to Travis Bell because Travis Bell goes to my Rob's rants. Kendall Williamson, safety out of Stanford. He was also a corner early on in his career, so I do think he has some versatility there. Listen to these numbers: 6 foot, 202 pounds. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay, same size, 4.48 on the 40-yard dash. Sound familiar? Yep. 38.5-inch vertical, same as Tyree Stevenson. Yep. 8.70 RAS score. Again, unranked for me. I didn't even get through my top 5 for safeties because I didn't think it was that relevant of a need for me to keep looking into them. But again, another lengthy DB who's very physical, more of an in-the-box safety than a free safety. He doesn't have the burst to stay up with guys. He has the top-end speed with the 4.48 40-yard dash, but he's a developmental safety. I don't think he's going to make the final roster, but I guarantee he's probably going to be on the practice squad.
Cool. So I am very excited to hear your rant. So why don't you tell us a little bit, just enough about Travis Bell to rant?
All right. So Rob's rants. Okay. Rob's rants. Again, this isn't going to get as heated as some of these other ones, so I'm not going to, it's not going to be as entertaining. I apologize, but I'll do my best. Travis Bell, defensive tackle out of Kennesaw State. 6 foot, 310 pounds. He's got the size, right? Arm length, 32 and 5/8. Very good measurables. Vertical, 32 and a half. He's athletic, 8.26 on the RAS rankings, right? Definitely unranked for me, okay? Another hybrid 3 technique who has similar traits to Zach Pickens and Jervon Dexter. Another one. 3 defensive tackles in a draft that, in my opinion, was deepest at defensive edge rush. Okay, not all of them were defensive ends. Some were outside linebackers, but edge rushers was one of the deepest classes. Tight end was another one. 2 positions you didn't even address. I don't care that they didn't address tight end that much. We've talked about how they need edge rushers. But here's where I have my biggest issue. What's this guy? He's not going. I don't see him contributing, whether he's a good human being or not. I want guys who are going to contribute to my football team. You want to have him as a mascot on the sideline? You want to put him in the Staley costume? Okay, I'm fine with it. But here's the thing. I saw Andrew Voorhees.
I don't know if the Staley costume will fit this dude.
Probably not. They got to widen it. Maybe we'll make a new mascot. Okay. But I saw Andrew Voorhees go slightly later in the draft in the 7th round. These are 7th round picks. These are dart throws. Andrew Voorhees, if he did not tear his ACL at the combine, would have been early day 3 pick at the latest. Okay. 4th round pick. Interior lineman. You need that depth. He's not playing this year. But either is Travis Bell. Travis Bell is not going to play. Not after you just invested 2 defensive tackles in the first 3 rounds. You have Andrew Billings that you brought in as your 1 tech. You still have Justin Jones. Are you going to cut him so that Travis Bell, Taco T. Bell, can play? I don't know. I don't think it's going to work out that way. Voorhees could have just been on the bench, taken a redshirt freshman year. We saw the Ravens take him. You want to talk about a general manager who knows what he's doing? You want to talk about a team that knows what they're doing? The Ravens know what they're doing, especially along that offensive line. Ozzie Newsome. Have you heard that name? He took him in the 7th round. Why? Because they knew. We'll put him on the sideline, put him on the IR. He's not going to play. He'll be here next year. Free pick for 2024. That's my only problem with Travis Bell. Nothing against you, Travis Bell. I think you're an amazing human too, even though I've never met you. Here's what I do know about you, because I couldn't find anything online. Google search. The top hit on Google search is Travis Bell obituary. Google already thinks you're dead. I'm sorry. They already think you're dead. My hat's off.
You just said his career with the Bears is over, too.
That's right.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I'm sorry. But he does have the ability to shed blocks and move down the line in the run game, just as the other 2 did. Comes from a smaller program. We mentioned he was the first ever drafted out of Kennesaw State, the Owls. Again, very few highlights. Couldn't find anything. A high motor guy, high character guy. Ryan Poles loves it.
Maybe he's not even real and we were catfished. He doesn't even exist. But anyway, you raised some good points. The only thing I'm going to say as a slight rebuttal is the defensive line. I get what you're saying about tight end. We've already talked about interior of the offensive line, whether that's guard because you still have an injury-prone Jenkins, whether that's center. And we also obviously talked about edge. But when you look at the overall defensive line, I know Justin Jones, I was one of his biggest supporters, but there's hardly anyone from last year that you can definitely say long-term is in the plans of the Bears. And that includes Dominique Robinson, which was a dart throw. That includes Gibson.
Travis Gibson shouldn't be here.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't mind them bringing in young, very, very athletic players who maybe, like you said, he may not ever suit up in a game that matters for the Bears. But I didn't have as much of a problem with it just because it's that late in the draft. I mean,
to be honest, I didn't either.
I just had to rant.
I just need to rant.
You got into it, though, man.
And I loved Andrew Voorhees. And to see him go to the Ravens.
You're right. And good organizations do things a certain way.
Right.
But I think, and this will kind of take me right into my This Just In, which is going to be a cooler for your rant. I think the Bears can be that in a few years,
Oops.
Uh-oh. Whoa. See that surprised face? I was like, whoa, what happened there? All right, so just so you guys know, in the past when I've done This Just In, it's been like a deep dive into statistics. That's where I kind of did the player A, player B.
Yes.
To compare Justin Fields' first 2 years to Josh Fields' first 2 years. And it was a little trick with some math and things like that. But this one's more just to really take a deep dive on a topic that I want to mention. So it's natural to want to do these immediate grades on players and grades on GMs and all sorts of things like that. I'm not big on it, and I'm going to kind of explain why. Ryan Poles is new to this role. This is his second draft, but he's already come in with a major impact. And by the way, this just in, it's going to be interactive. I'm going to need you a little bit here, Rob.
Okay. Is there secret code words that I'm supposed to know about?
I'll ask you some direct things. So
Saturday Night Live skit, secret words.
I'm going to start with you though, because you were big on Ryan Poles before he got the job. He was the guy you wanted in this role. Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask you. And I know when you started Hal's Huddle with Jeremy Layton, you guys had a different intro. And part of that intro was Ryan Poles basically saying what he was here to do.
Take the North and never give it back.
Take the North and never give it back. But what were some of those things he talked about?
Honestly, I have no idea off the top of my head.
Okay. He said we're going to build through the draft.
Yes.
Okay. I think he talked about building in the trenches.
He did.
Okay. And right now, the moves he has made, whether they work or not, is not what I'm evaluating. What I'm evaluating is, does this person have a plan and a vision? Are they willing to stick to it, even if it's with unpopular decisions? And
so wait, you're saying he didn't get flustered and become Ryan Pace and move up?
Exactly. Well, I was even going to go cross sports and say I'm as frustrated as can be with.
Oh, don't even bring them all.
I shouldn't.
They won today.
Yeah, they finally won.
They won today.
I'm a White Sox fan.
Same.
And I'll tell you, one of the most frustrating things is they don't look like they have a plan. They don't look like they have vision.
Luis Robert didn't play. Is he the reason they've been losing?
I think they finally figured it out.
Right?
But we'll stick to the Bears here. He is trying to attack this a certain way. In a very short period of time, he's turned this roster over. Now, there are some carryovers, and I can think of one very, very special carryover in Justin Fields, who we can never credit him with being the one who brought him in. However, he analyzed if he would fit what he wanted. I think he's made that decision. He's backed himself up where if Fields has a terrible year and doesn't look like the guy, he's positioned himself to go after whoever he wants by having 2 firsts next year, multiple picks in rounds 3, rounds 4. I'm sorry, I don't know about round 3. That's a whole separate thing because he brought in a guy like Cunningham to be his protege. And these are 2
if he's gone,
executives of color, which is a great thing to see the Bears being one of the leaders in the NFL to do.
Yeah.
But if he gets taken by another team, they get compensatory picks that are going to be valuable.
Yep.
So he is building through the draft, knowing he's not going to get every pick right. And I don't think he came in thinking, okay, I need to get a center. I need to get a tight end. the guys he wanted at those positions either weren't there or he didn't want them as much as another person. But he's not going to change his approach. He's going to stick with it. And if it all works out according to his plan and he's the genius he thinks he is, we'll see it in the results very, very soon here and for a very long time. Now, one thing I wanted to challenge you on before that you said is that, and I guess you could rephrase it if I heard you wrong, but that maybe by a year from now, if things aren't kind of going the right way, he could already be on the hot seat.
When I say hot seat, I mean going into 2025. So that gives him this year to show improvement.
Right.
Next year to compete.
Okay.
2025 to compete.
Okay.
And if you're not competing after 2025, you're on my hot seat.
Okay. Well, maybe we're saying the same thing. I'm just going to phrase it differently.
Okay.
I'm looking at, you brought a guy in who came to you with a very clear, very specific plan,
yes,
and he's executing it. Now, if it starts to look like it's not working, I give him, because he came with such a great ability to hold to a plan, I'll give him one chance to kind of make a different plan.
Sure.
And then hopefully he can steer it a different way, because he's not going all in on certain things. If you're going into every draft coming out with 10 players, you're covering yourself for other things. You're making it so that you can pivot. So I'm impressed with just that, not knowing how many of these are going to hit, how many aren't. So I just want to point that out. It's not what we're seeing from some of our other sports teams in this city. I'll mention another crappy one, the Bulls.
Same owner, by the way.
Yeah. Head scratcher there. But I just think, let's see where this is going. I think it's going in the right direction. Other people, I think, agree. And so let's see where it goes.
Can I say, though, and this is going to piggyback off of that, I am getting, maybe not anymore, 24 hours ago, destroyed, ratioed, as the kids call it, on Twitter, right? Because I said, is it safe? Something along these lines, paraphrase. Is it safe for me to criticize Ryan Poles, or does everything still need to be positive to this point? And I quickly found out that the answer is no, you cannot criticize Ryan Poles right now, because most people think everything he does is fantastic. But I think it's okay to criticize someone and still think they're doing a good job.
Yes. And actually, that was the tweet that made me think that this is the This Just In I wanted to do, which is why I forgot to ask you exactly what that tweet was. It's fine to say, hey, should they have taken...
and I specified in that tweet also that I thought it was head-scratching that they took two defensive tackles.
Should they have taken Dexter, or could they have gone Thule there? That level of critique or criticism, or however you want to look at it, of course, you can have those conversations.
And I'm not saying he's wrong.
And people are talking about Claypool. I'm just saying he was decisive in moves that he made. You know, Roquan, that was not popular. Trading guys like Mack and Quinn, and he stuck to a plan.
Yes.
Sometimes some GMs I've seen will make part of the move, and then maybe the backlash they get scares them and they don't go all the way in. And that makes me think of old Bulls teams and the White Sox of the past and things like that. He says, I'm going to do this. Hey, we didn't get an edge in this draft. Well, we got some money we're thinking of spending too. And he's going to go attack that too.
And he said we need to be patient. He said we're not going to fix all these things in one draft, two drafts. It's going to take time. I understand that. I just want to know where the edge rush is coming from. So if he goes out and signs an edge rusher that I feel comfortable with, I'm going to be excited for 2023.
He's got to clear it with you.
I mean, there's only three guys that I would be excited about. So, yeah, one of those.
Give me those three.
I have mentioned them already. Yannick Ngakoue, who
can't
stop the run at all.
Okay, but we got other guys to do that now. Frank Clark.
Or if Carl Lawson gets cut.
Okay. Or George Pickens.
I mean, George Pickens could play defensive end.
Just to make you happy. All right. So that was my This Just In. I just wanted to slow everybody's roll and say, at least there is a clear plan that he's trying to execute. He lined up the money and didn't spend it all, like a crazy person. He's lining up draft picks, and he's picking them the way he thinks is going to serve the team best. Let's see where it gets them.
So, again, piggybacking off that, clearly they have a thing that they want to follow here when it comes to traits. Every single one of the Bears draft picks were an elite RAS score. The Packers were number 2. I think they had 2 guys that weren't. The Lions had like 3 guys that weren't. And what's really strange And somebody that a lot of people actually wanted, I'm going to say his name wrong, but Kwesi, the guy who became the GM.
From Kansas State? Who
became the GM in Minnesota. They had 0 players that had an elite RAS score. It's very interesting because he's an analytics guy.
Right.
So these are things to keep an eye on going forward, right?
And that was the other thing I forgot to bring up when in kind of saying he has a plan. But when he came, I believe they kind of brought in more scouts and have a broader approach. And I just like to see that. It does actually, I told you I'm a Sox fan, but it reminds me of the Cubs with Theo and things like that. This is going to take a little bit of time. We have a plan. We're going to execute the plan. Boom. It all kind of came to fruition. Now, could they have extended that? And you want to follow up, Fields is going to have a window, we hope, where he's kind of dominant. And then you want to find his replacement and keep it going. But if you're taking 10 picks a year, that's how you might be able to do that.
All right. So Justin and I said we were going to keep this shorter.
We didn't.
Nope.
we like long, big, violent episodes.
Just final thoughts here. Bears came in with a lot of needs, addressed many, still have some holes to fill, right? As you've mentioned, as I've mentioned, it's not a one-year project. Like you just elaborated in this just in, has plan, isn't afraid to panic, is very cool-headed, very level-headed. Like, it's kind of crazy how level-headed I applaud him so much because I would be like, wait, why? I need that guy. Yeah, I mean, I would have.
I'm trading up for Mitch Trubisky.
I would have panicked. I would have. This is why I'm not the general manager, but I'm still going to put out who I thought he should have went with. Hindsight's always 20/20.
Of course.
We did not discuss undrafted free agents. They've signed a ton. You can find those online. No one really stood out to me as guys I was like woohoo about.
Yeah, but last year were you like Jack Sanborn?
I mean, I liked the Jack Sanborn signing, but not to that degree. Right. I never thought he'd be.
Well, he shouldn't have been,
right? And there's some guys out there that some names, but not anyone that I wouldn't expect a Jack Sanborn leap, right?
I would just say any Bears fan who's maybe down or whatever, just go room by room and look at where they were last year and where they are this year. And ask yourself, do you feel better about the room now, or did you feel better about it last year? Quarterback room, running back room, receiver room, offensive line room, linebacker room.
Justin just came up with our next episode.
All right, on the spot. On the spot.
All right.
Bear down, baby.
Bear down. Bear down, everybody.